it's Isabel, and today I want to do kind of an if you like this book, try that book type of video, but I'm going to make it a bit more specific and I'm going to pair up some fiction books with some non-fiction books. So maybe if you want to get more into non-fiction, this might be helpful, because I will give you some fiction books, and if you're interested in those, you could also try their non-fiction pairs, or vice versa. If you like a lot of non-fiction but not really a lot of fiction, you might find some new books that you want to check out. I have 5 pairs of books to recommend to you today, so let's get into it. I want to start off with the book that actually inspired this video, and it is The Overstory by Richard Powers. This is a story told from multiple points of view, but what they all have in common is that at some point in their life they realize that they want to make it their mission to save the world's trees. While I was reading this, I was really reminded of a non-fiction book that I had read earlier, I think this year, which is The Hidden Life of Trees by Paver Wohlleben. And this is, as I said, a non-fiction book all about forests and trees, how they work and the kind of things they do that you probably didn't know about. And a lot of this is also mentioned in The Overstory. So I just realized that it would actually be really cool to read these kind of together, because they both have this topic of trees and forests and how amazing they really are. And I think both of them are really fascinating and eye-opening and make you want to take a walk in the forest and really appreciate it. The next pairing that I have is all about 19th and 20th century exploration, and the fiction book that I've picked for it is A Registry of My Passage Upon the Earth by Daniel Mason. This one is a short story collection, and it has many different stories, but a lot of them are actually about exploration in the late 19th and early 20th century. There is, for example, a story following Alfred Russel Wallace, imagining his thoughts when he came up with an evolutionary theory kind of at the same time as Darwin, and sent it to Darwin and then was waiting for a reply. There's also a story set in the Amazon rainforest about a telegraph operator who is living in a house in the middle of the Amazon forest alone, and the only human contact he has is with the other telegraph operators down the line. And this book really reminded me of The Lost City of Zed by David Grann, because this also is about the Amazon rainforest and early 20th century exploration, because this book is all about the explorer Percy Fawcett, who disappeared on an exploration trip to the Amazon rainforest. And it looks at the times and the explorations that were going on at that time, and like A Registry of My Passage Upon the Earth, it is very vivid and really transports you to that time and follows some really fascinating characters. Next up, we are moving to outer space, and I want to recommend as a fiction book The Martian by Andy Weir, who is all about a guy who is accidentally left behind on Mars. And we follow him trying to adapt and improvise and keep up a good attitude to survive. After reading this one, I read An Astronaut's Guide to Life on Earth by Chris Hadfield. In this book, Chris Hadfield describes his career of becoming an astronaut, kind of the training he went through and also the experiences he had as an astronaut, and he applies the lessons he has learned to his real life. So for example, the keeping up a good attitude and also being prepared for anything that might happen, which is also a big part of The Martian. So both of these are very much about being prepared for the worst, but still having a very positive attitude about it. The next pairing is one that I think I've talked about before, but I wanted to mention it again anyway because it is a favourite of mine. And the fiction book that I've picked for this is The Terror by Dan Simmons, which I think I've told you a few times already, but very briefly, about the Franklin expedition, and it's a supernatural horror book that imagines what might have happened to the crew of the Franklin expedition, who completely disappeared. And the non-fiction book that I've paired it with is, of course, Erebus by Michael Palin. So this one follows the ship Erebus, which was one of the ships that was part of the Franklin expedition. And this book follows the ship from when it was built to when it disappeared in the Arctic during this expedition, and also looks at when it was found again a few years ago. And this one gives you all the known facts about the ship and also the expedition. And I think it's really interesting to kind of have all of the facts from Erebus and then read the supernatural horror of the terror and kind of see how real life inspired such a supernatural tale. The last pairing I have is also about exploration gone wrong, because that's apparently just a theme that I like. And the fiction book I will recommend to you is one that I've also talked about before. It is Thin Air by Michelle Paver. And this one follows a group of mountaineers who are climbing in the Himalayas, and the protagonist becomes convinced that they are being haunted by something sinister. And Thin Air very much reminded me of a book with a very similar title, Into Thin Air by Jon Krakauer. And this one is Krakauer's account of the 1996 expedition on Mount Everest that ended in disaster. So both of these books are very chilling and haunting. One of them because it contains a literal ghost, and this one because it doesn't and is actually real life. And those were all of the books I wanted to recommend today. Let me know if you want me to do more of these kind of pairing books videos, and if you have ideas for what I should do next, also leave me a comment. I could do one pairing different genres or different types of books like short stories or poetry. So if you have anything that you would like to see, let me know. But for now, thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. Bye!